Are we in for a bigger price drop in the Kelowna real estate market? Well, the jury is still out at the moment. There are a few different factors happening in the real estate market. One's on the macro side of things with Government of Canada and all their things they're implementing for ahead of next year's election and trying to keep Canada together in terms of economy. And then we're also in an election year with the BC governments going head to head and parties against parties, and home prices are coming down, and we're looking through in the real estate market. So stay tuned to the video. So we're going to get into some of the implications of what we're looking, but let's look at true statistics and see where these statistics, we can never fully predict the future.
So we're going to look at the real estate market statistics here and looking at from the weekly email what I put out here and the statistics and what is happening in the market compared to what was in the previous years. It's one thing to just to spit out and spew out numbers for you, but how does that translate to what the real estate market has done, not only currently but in a long term? So every time we're looking at the real estate market statistics, we want to look at it over the long term, where you have peaks and valleys, peaks and values. A lot of this is going to be seasonal slowdowns. As we start to hit January, normally you're going to start to see some of those slowdowns here. And the biggest drop in the red here are the amount of listings. So this is where we see seasonal inventory, the total amount of active listings. And in the green, it is also followed by the sales. And so this is what we're going to be seeing. And so we've seen, starting to see a trend downwards in terms of the amount of active listings. And then we're also seeing a trend downwards in terms of the overall amount of sales. Some of this is going to be market related. Some of it's going to be economy related. Some of it's also going to be election related. Depending on your beliefs and what people are looking to do in the real estate market, there's going to be a number of different beliefs and reasons why people are either buying or selling. And when people are confused, especially when in an election year where a lot of election platforms are based on home prices coming down, and a lot of people are portraying that home prices are coming down. And even though they are, that's also forcing people to not make decisions because they're being told as well, home prices are going to each party is also going to bring down home prices in the future. And increase the supply and everything like that. However, if you look at the macroeconomic side of things and you look at what the government of Canada is doing with the interest rates, and the newest reports from CIBC is saying 1.25% January of 2025, there are the Bank of Canada.
With respect to housing prices, well, there's certainly considerable uncertainty around what will happen to prices, and it's going to obviously reflect the response in demand, but consistent with our forecast, we've got modest increase in prices compared to last year, where prices actually moved down. That's what's built into our forecast.
Canada has also indicated that they're maybe expecting home prices to increase down the road. So I wouldn't necessarily think, based on how much immigration we have and how much demand there is on housing, and I know a lot of the immigration will come into the rental market first and it'll start at the lower end. But if you look at markets like Saskatoon or Regina or lower end markets, Alberta, those markets are quite hot right now and they are increasing in price point. So as those smaller markets are starting to increase in price point and homes are getting less affordable there, it is eventually going to filter in and into the higher price points where they're just kind of catching up from where we were the last couple of years. But when we're looking at the statistics, we're going to look at the overall sales in the month of September. So 270 sales, that doesn't really mean a whole lot if you don't have any perspective on what we're looking at. And then we also have new listings. A lot of this new listings, this is also important because new listings, but we've only had a change of inventory, and you'll see it in the market stats there. But if you follow it week to week, month to month with the weekly statistics, you're going to see this 3817. It was 3807 last month. So we've increased 10 listings this current month for current inventory. But these new inventory, that is just people taking their home off the market and then relisting at a higher and relisting. And are they coming in at a lower price point? Sometimes, not always necessarily. They're doing it to also refresh the listing so it has a higher probability of selling. But when you are also looking at the average days of sales, so that's where it's a little bit misleading using average or median days of sales. I don't really truly believe on these because I believe it should be higher. These numbers are going to be understated. One number I do like to look at, though, is this months of inventory. Following that, this is essentially if no new listings come on the market, how many months will it take to sell based on current demand? So total is 270 sales. Well, it's going to take 14 months, over a year, for all the current demand to eat up the whole supply. So that is something we look, and that is definitely trending into a buyer's market. That is definitely a buyer's market. And when you look at it more individually based on the different types of submarkets, so we have the single family homes here, 122 sales and 15 months of inventory. This total single family home sales, and I noted up here, but the single family home made up 45% of all the sales, but they accounted for 64% of the total volume. So the total volume sold in September was 203 million, and single family homes accounted for 130 of those millions. So taking a look at that, but it is also accounting for a good portion of the supply on the market. And we're breaking it down into townhomes here, where this is 39 sales, and the average price point was between 660, 673. Looking at this current inventory, 12 months of inventory, so it's still a buyer's market in this indication, but slightly better than what's happening here with the 15 months of inventory on the single family home side. Apartment sales, 82 sales. So this was the second most active amount of sales.